Come here, you mother... Oh, This is it, baby. Hold me.
So, this week may be one of the most important days for the Borderlands franchise. If you haven't been keeping up, IGN reported that Take-Two Interactive recently acquired beloved studio Gearbox Interactive for around 460 million smackaroos. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why do I care? Well, if you haven't clicked off the video yet, first, I appreciate it, and second, I'll do my best to explain why, in my opinion, this could probably be the end of Borderlands. We'll first delve into the bad, and I'll just try and explain a little bit why I think this might be a horrible business move. Let's jump in, feet first. Now, first off, we need to figure out who Take-Two Interactive is. They're one of the biggest companies in the gaming sphere and are responsible for games such as NBA 2K, GTA 5, and surprisingly even the Civilization franchise. Take-Two makes most of their money primarily though from microtransactions. These transactions are getting more aggressive and less consumer friendly. Regardless if they're merely publishing or even developing these games, Take-Two, at least in my opinion, has their hands on most products they touch. These are some of the biggest games in terms of popularity and, sadly, revenue. Now, the thing that makes these games so profitable is the gameplay, no doubt, but also the borderline offensive microtransactions that are littered and pushed aggressively within their games. It's no secret that GTA is one of, if not the most profitable game of all time. And it's because Take-Two embeds their microtransactions into almost every aspect of the game. Don't get me wrong, GTA Online's live service is fun and it's an overwhelming success over its decade and going long lifespan. But it's also a hindrance to the player experience to a certain degree, and let me explain. In GTA Online, you can purchase businesses and other illegitimate practices, and these are most definitely the best options when making money. The caveat though is that they require expensive upgrades and setups before you can even see a return on the business, which means you'll need millions of dollars before your investment even begins to pay off. So, what do? In order to access the most of GTA Online's features and vehicles and weapons, you have to have a significant cash flow in order to enjoy the finer aspects of the game. So to get a large amount of cash, that leaves the players with two options. Spend 5-9 hours a day grinding missions, dodging griefers, overwhelming odds, and not to mention the bugs and glitches to get your first weed business up and running, just to see a meager return over the next 5 days. Or you whip out your credit card and buy the new jet in less than 2 minutes. And yes, it's not a new concept, it's incredibly common nowadays. But I want to illustrate that Take-Two Interactive, in my opinion, are using this concept in a wrong and almost malicious way. Yeah, I know companies have to make money, but Take-Two Interactive makes it to where the gameplay is affected in order to fit their business model. And unfortunately now, the missions of GTA 5 have become much more difficult, and I feel like that pushes players to cut corners more often and spend even more money than they did before. Meager payouts and even more difficult gameplay kind of forces you to spend real life money in order to make virtual money, especially for newer players, as you need an influx of cash in order to start your businesses. The same can also be said about another 2K interactive title, NBA 2K24. Now, if you've never played this shitty basketball game, trust me, it's dog shit, don't worry about it, but essentially you have to fork over $70 to buy the game, the base game, and either spend 4 months grinding a soulless my career, or simply spend another $40 to $60 just to get to a baseline level to compete just with your friends. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, back in the day, you didn't have to spend $150 to start playing the game. It's kind of weird, and in 2013, $10 in GTA 5 could get you the top supercar, the Adder. Now, in 2024, you need to double or maybe even triple that price to get the best vehicle, and the Adder is far less more obsolete than anything else. If you do research, you can see that going forward, this is going to be Take-Two Interactive's approach for every single one of their games going forward, if they can help it. Trust me, they want this to happen. If you didn't know, Take-Two Interactive's top brass, pretty sure their CEO and president, earned bonuses based off the amount of money made from these business practices in the game. Not to mention, most of Take-Two's revenue is based off microtransactions as well. That essentially means that if you're these guys, you're going to make sure that these games are at least somewhat fun or good enough to play, but just kind of bad enough where you go, fuck it, what's another $50? What this means for Borderlands is simple. We've seen monetization in Borderlands 3, but I'm personally afraid of what's going to happen to Borderlands 4. It's a good chance that the game will decline in quality after this acquisition for the sake of money, and if you make $70 million a year like these CEOs and presidents, you'd make sure that the microtransactions kept coming in and got more aggressive. Now, don't get me wrong, we haven't seen any sort of gameplay or any sort of inkling of Borderlands 4 being bad, but if you ask me, it's not a good sign that Take-Two Interactive may have more control over the game. There will definitely be microtransactions no matter what. That goes without saying, but we have to make sure that these microtransactions aren't the same that we see in 2K24, GTA 5. What I'm trying to explain and illustrate is that we need to make sure that these microtransactions, regardless of what they are, do not hinder the gameplay, especially after the lackluster release of Borderlands 3. It only makes sense. Borderlands 4 should really only come down to effort. Removing cringy TikTok antagonists and design decisions that were kind of questionable at best should hopefully be enough to fix the changes that shouldn't hurt the bottom line at the same time. When it comes to creating core gameplay, it should be insanely easy to recreate a decent antagonist and not fill the game with a shit ton of microtransactions that water down the experience for the player. Realistically, I doubt we'll ever have a game without microtransactions nowadays. They're just way too profitable, but they can at least be tasteful. If we can have a great game with just only a few, it won't have to be the last Borderlands you'll ever play. But that's enough ranting for me. Technique out. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and debate with me in the comments. Give me what you think Take-Two Interactive should do, what Gearbox Interactive should do, and what as a fan base we can do as well, because I enjoy Borderlands. I really do love the game. Just we need some direction to make sure that it's executed properly.